Hi, I was trying to figure out what to do in our next video after introducing Anywhere SCADA and Project Kraken in our last video, and I've decided to just do an overview of what development looks like in a current industrial environment and what it would look like if we used a modern development stack with something like Project Kraken and Anywhere SCADA, and kind of show you what the benefits would be. So here we have an industrial automation environment as they kind of would look today. We have a production environment and a development environment. For our developer, we'll call him Jimothy, and he has in his development environment a development client and a production client that are both hooked directly up to the production server. And he'll make a change, see if it worked, and if it didn't work, meanwhile, it will be broken on the production environment. And users like Jonathan over here will see every breaking change and wonder what on earth is Jimothy doing while he's trying to figure out what made his process go down or why he can't access things on the user interface like he should. And so if we abandon the proprietary software and we use a modern development stack with something like Project Kraken, we can make this more better. So let me show you how. The main problem is that our developer Jimothy is working directly on the production environment. So our first step is to just isolate his development all to one environment. We're going to move it into this development environment. Since we're using a modern programming stack, we are going to use modern version control, which most people use Git. And that will give him a nice clean history of all the changes he's ever made to his code base. And then we'll also get him a local ad hoc dev server, which most modern programming language environments provide, which just allows you to run your code and see if it worked after you've made a change. It'll reflect all the changes that you've made. So Jimothy will still make a change and see if it worked, but this will all be inside his own development environment and not affect the production environment. So now that Jimothy's been working with this for a little bit, he is tired of manually checking every single change he's ever made to the code base and that all the features work as his code gets a little bit more complex. And so he would like to use a modern testing framework, which most modern programming language environments provide. So we're going to give him an automated test framework where he can write tests for code that he's written and run it every time he wants to gain some confidence and see if tests pass or fail, and if they fail, he can go back and make a change. So this time he'll make changes, and he can see if they worked on his local dev server, or he can also run the tests to make sure all of the code that he's already written still works. So now Jimothy's code base is getting pretty complex and he needs some help. And he's also a little worried about all of the code existing just on his hard drive. So we're going to add for him a remote Git repo, which is something like your GitHub or your GitLab or your Bitbucket. Those are services that provide online remote Git repos for you to have your team contribute to. And so he's going to invite developer Jimothy to come and contribute code from her development environment, and they're both going to work on it together. Also, now the code base lives in a bunch of different places. It's on his machine, it's on Jimothy's machine. Any other teammate will have a copy of the code, and then also there'll be a copy in the remote Git repo, obviously. So having all these tests locally is really helpful, and each developer can run their own tests to make sure that they have some confidence in their code. But what would be really great is if they could run tests on the remote Git repo before they move code into a production branch that eventually will get into the production environment. So we are going to add continuous integration. Continuous integration is running automated tests in the remote Git repo before you push it to production. And the mechanism for this is to do a pull request. So the developer that's ready to push to production will write a pull request, and any change to the pull request will trigger all of the automated tests to run to see if that pull request can be merged to the main production branch, or if they fail, then it can't be merged, and you'll either have to fix them or someone would have to override that limitation. So this is a great development environment, but Jimothy is wondering, how am I going to get my code to my production environment? I don't really want to do it manually or copy it over or anything like that. Luckily, the facility for the remote Git repo to run arbitrary code triggered on events allows you to do continuous deployment. And continuous deployment is automatically pushing your code to the production environment every time you merge to the production branch. So what we like to do is we like for our production environments to be container environments, so that what we can do is have a continuous deployment runner in the remote version control. And every time the pull request gets merged to the production branch, the continuous deployment runner will build the image, push it to our private container registry, or you can use Docker Hub, and that will have a history of every version, every build that we've ever done that gets pushed to production, so we can easily go back if we need to, if production is having a problem. And then the runner will also push the latest container image onto the production server, and it'll be kind of an instantaneous update. So users like Josh then won't see all the broken changes that happen during development, or even when you push to things like staging if you have a staging environment, but they will just think that everyone is doing a really swell job. So yeah, that is a basic overview of what a modern development stack would look like against industrial automation using Project Kraken or Anywhere SCADA. In future videos, I'll go through the actual details of working with the code editor and doing all of those steps. Also, if you would like to see any specific videos or you have a question, please leave a comment, like and subscribe if you want to catch more videos like this. Thank you. Stay tuned.